How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate you. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr., and welcome to the first classic movie review of 2023. This is my review of a great black and white film that came out back in 1951. This was directed by Elia Kazan. This is based on a play written by Tennessee Williams, great playwright. And this has a great cast. Marlon Brando in the role of Stanley Kowalski, the great Vivian Leigh, who played Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. You got the great Carl Malden, one of my favorite character actors from back in the day, in the role of Mitch. And in the role of Stella Kowalski, you have Kim Hunter. This is A Streetcar Named Desire, and this is one of the greatest films of the 1950s, based on a great play, and it makes for a great film. So this movie begins with the arrival of Blanche Dubois, that's Vivian Leigh's character, at the home of her sister and her brother-in-law, Stella and Stanley. And they live in this little rundown tenement in the French Quarter in New Orleans. And uh, Stanley is kind of a loud and crude and vulgar kind of guy. He likes to booze it up, and he's prone to fits of rage and outbursts every now and then. And Stella actually talks back every now and then, but when there's people around, Stanley, he gets pretty mad. And so you put the sister, Blanche, into the mix, and it gets pretty tense, and that feeling of tension actually maintains throughout the film. At first, Stanley treats Blanche semi-decent, even though he's kind of rude and condescending to her through most of the movie, or pretty much the whole movie. He's just rude and just kind of a dick. But he sees through her facade, and she's basically putting on airs the whole time. She's just completely phony, and she acts very phony, and he sees right through it. And especially once her sister finds out and tells him that she's lost the family home known as Bellerive, and he felt that he was going to inherit that, and he makes it a point to bring it up a few times to Blanche about the Napoleonic Code, about whatever the wife owns, the husband owns, and vice versa, and brings up the fact that she's pregnant. And so he's ticked off that she lost the family home. With Stanley being this guy that already has kind of a temper, he likes to booze it up a lot, and he just has an attitude all the time. And on top of that, he's got this big hang up about what's going on with Belle Reeve and how he feels kind of swindled on the whole thing. It just keeps this level of uh, this awkwardness and tension throughout the movie. And then you have poor Stella kind of playing mediator and just kind of refereeing between her husband and her sister throughout the whole thing. And you know, this kind of thing, this feels like a real situation. It feels like Tennessee Williams was drawing from like real life experiences. These people feel very real, and the dialogue feels very authentic, feels very true to the moments that, as you're watching them happening. And the acting is so great because it sells that dialogue. I mean, it's a perfect marriage of the words on the page and just great actors saying those words. I also have to mention this great scene in the film where Marlon Brando's character Stanley and his buddy Mitch are playing poker at Stanley's place with a few buddies, and things get a little out of hand when the girls show up and puts the music on in the next room, and Stanley gets really irritated, and he's been drinking, so he gets really loud and gets pissed off when he wants them to turn it off, and then when they don't listen, he gets the radio and smashes it through the window very violently, and even hits his wife. Stella goes upstairs with Blanche and a neighbor, and stays with the neighbor for a little bit while her husband cools down. And a moment later, he sort of comes to, gets all pissed off, but then he comes to his senses and takes a look around and realizes that Stella's gone. And that's where you get this infamous moment that's been spoofed in all kinds of TV shows and other movies and all kinds of other things where I'm sure maybe you've even seen it. Uh, Stella, it's one of the funniest scenes if you watch it out of context. If you're just watching a clip of it, then yeah, it's inadvertently funny. But if you watch it while you're watching the movie and you watch it within context of, what's happening. Uh, it's a pretty real feeling moment that's acted beautifully by Brando. Carl Malden's character, Mitch, Stanley's buddy, is at Stanley's place. Whenever Blanche is around, he flirts with her a little bit and he develops a little crush on her. And he asks her out, and uh, it's pretty interesting when he fails to show up right away and she thinks that he's going to stand her up. And there's a paper boy that comes by who just wants his, 40 cents or whatever. And she uh, she gets a little, risque, especially for 1951. I mean, this woman, this, middle-aged woman, is so desperate for attention and any kind of affection that she's willing to get it from a complete stranger. Whenever I watch this scene with Blanche and this paper boy, and she has this realization because she knows she did something wrong, because this kid is obviously a young teenager, and just makes me think about how people must have thought, or what they must have thought back in 1951, and how edgy this must have been, because this movie goes into certain adult themes and territory that is pretty unexpected, especially for a first time watch. And when you think about when this movie came out, like the time period, this movie really did help to push a lot of boundaries in terms of themes of adultery. And there's even a little bit of a hint of a rape that happens in the film. It's very sort of tactfully done and tastefully done. It's more insinuated. Even though Marlon Brando kind of steals the show in this movie because he's Marlon Brando and he's so great as Stanley Kowalski, for me, the person to watch in this film is Vivian Leigh. There are layers to her performance, and her character is shrouded in mystery, and the movie slowly peels back the layers of her backstory and what's really going on with her. Of course, her performance is only complemented by all the other actors in the film, and I also really like her scene with Carl Malden, who plays Mitch, where they go out on their date. Remember, I said he has a little crush on her, and when they do go out on the date, it is a very nice little scene. Of course, Stanley can't help himself, and he has to tell Mitch whatever he finds out about Blanche, and he messes things up for Blanche when it comes to Mitch. And then it gets really messy, and I don't want to give away the ending because it's a real good one. But this is a four-star classic, and I highly recommend you all check it out. A Streetcar Named Desire. This is a great film. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, but I want to show you my copy of my DVD because this is a great movie. And yep, there is Stanley Kowalski himself, Marlon Brando. So check this movie out. I'm sure you can find it on HBO Max or Hulu or some streaming service, or get yourself a hard copy, damn it. But thank you very much for watching. Please look out for the next classic movie review. Please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell, go ahead and comment if you like it. If you want to share, go ahead, and it's all good. So please have a good one. Take care of yourself. Peace out.